Hi guys, welcome to another video on the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my remote coaching setup. This is an iOS app that I have developed over the last year because I simply got very frustrated with trying to coach people online and not be able to see what their data is on the PM5. I'm not just interested in the technique of the rowing stroke. I'm also interested in, does that technique and the activation of the body lend itself to good force application during the stroke. So the force curve is obviously something very important to my practice, and certainly being able to see that in real time, be able to coach people all over the world to a high level of performance is really my goal. So what I've got for you here is a demo setup of Remote Rowing Coach. I'm going to take you through how to sync it up with another version of the app running somewhere else in the world or a web browser on somebody's computer somewhere. And we're going to kind of just throw this together here this afternoon. So what we've got here is on the iPad here, you're seeing it in the top left of your screen. You're seeing the main menu, and as you can see it does sync with the Concept 2 logbook as well. I felt like that was a very important feature of the app. If I go into the settings, so if I click down here at the bottom on the right, I've got the settings of my app. Here I can set the resting heart rate, I can set my max heart rate, and then when I'm working out, I can tell if I'm wearing a heart rate monitor, which I'm not today, it'll tell me what energy zone I'm in when I'm working out. So you can switch between the Covenant formula, percent of max heart rate, depending on what system you're using. And so, there are various functions here. Are you lightweight? Are you heavyweight? Those kinds of things. And so to enable remote coaching, you've got to click on this switch right here. This is a subscription, so this app is out there in the iOS app stores. I wanted to make it available to other people, not just for coaches, but for athletes, because there's a ton of data here with this app that's very helpful. So you enable the remote coaching, you go back to the menu, and then you click athlete, because if you're on the machine, you're the athlete. So we click there, and it's going to give us a list of different coaches, usernames. The coach that I'm going to use is Coach B5. That's my username. So I'm going to click Coach B5, and I want to save that coach for later on. And now what I'm going to do is turn on the PM5 monitor and connect it. And you'll see the ID number of the PM5 show up. When I click on that, I'm going to get a session ID, okay? And you have to give permission to the coach to see the data. Security is very important, but there also needs to be a second factor authentication as well here, and that is that five character session ID. So what I'm going to do is come over to the computer here, and over here in the browser window, I'm going to type that number in. Okay, so that number is 9JQAF. So I'm going to type that in over here, 9JQAF, and set that session ID. I got the wrong one. So again, if you've got the wrong one, it's 9JQAF. It's a capital F. So that's what I'm going to change. But it's a good demonstration. I'm glad that kind of didn't do that. So now we're synced up, right? So the app here is synced up with the web browser here, and I'm using Chrome on here. You can really use any browser, but if you wanted to be an athlete using the athlete view up here and use the browser as your client, you could do that as well. But I'm just using a web browser here. If you have another iPad running somewhere else, remotely, you can use that as well. But I'm using the web interface here because allows you to see kind of a lot of metrics here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to row a few strokes here, and you're going to see how quickly it comes over the wire, right? This is all happening. So what's happening here is that's going up to the cloud, and then from the cloud it's going to this browser. So although I'm in the same place, it is actually making a round trip to the cloud. So just kind of imagine that, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and get on the machine now, and I'm going to row a few strokes. So I'm going to click OK. You can also share that session ID with somebody, as you can see there. Well, I don't need to do that, but if you're an athlete and you want to text that to your coach or email it to your coach, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to go ahead and put my feet in here and just take a couple of strokes. You're going to kind of see how quickly this updates. So if I just take an on stroke, and it's going to start sending that data to the cloud. So if I take short strokes here, and what you're seeing right off the end of the stroke, it's sending that information. And as you can see, the value in this is if I'm coaching somebody online, I've got immediate access to their data on their PM5. So I can take some longer strokes here, kind of get a range. And it's going to handle it well, if I go higher on the rate. So let's throw some faster strokes in there. So, that's pretty helpful. It's working. It's working pretty quickly. The other view that you've got here on the app is if you want to watch, your force curve, get a better picture of it. It does show up on the PM5 as well. But no, I'm not complete. I'm going to keep going. So if I click in the top right hand corner here, switch metrics, force curve, then I can go ahead and take strokes here and kind of get a few more metrics. There we go. So what we've got here is your peak force, your average force, the percentage of your stroke that is complete at the time when you hit peak force. That's helpful to know when you're hitting peak force, and that is 36.1% here. Drive time, drive length, some work, impulse, which is really sort of what's going on, in terms of the area under the curve. So, not only is it giving you your force over time, it's giving you, what we're looking for here is a nice smooth kind of haystack type curve. I'm not here to discuss the different types of force application, but I think you can see here that this is a pretty powerful coaching platform that I put together to help me and others now, see data in real time. and this app is, it's pretty heavyweight in terms of the data and things like that. So I'll just go ahead and say, yes, I'm finished with that. And it's going to go ahead and reset the monitor. One of the other things you could do, and I thought this would be helpful for coaches, is a peak power test. So either a 7-stroke test or a 10-stroke test. So that the PM can only be set up for 20 seconds. You can't set it up for any less than 20 seconds. So I decided to kind of hack around that a little bit and figure out, okay, well, what's the total time for 7 strokes and things like that. So if I go ahead and hit peak power here, and I'm going to go ahead and sync it up again. So every time it resets. And so it's asking me, do I want to set it up for a 7-stroke test or a 10-stroke test? So I'll just do 7 strokes on this one, and I'll throw down 7 strokes here, and you'll get the sense of what's happening here. So let's go ahead and here we go. And that's done. Right, that's complete. So that was a 7-stroke test. So I'll go ahead and put my name in there and hit return and save that. And then, the beauty of this is that it's captured all that data. So when we go back to our training, we can access, this kind of data. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the functionality here. I'm going to go ahead and change the view here so you can see a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to this and kind of talk you through the app. So if I click on view my training, this is all the training data that's been stored, and the peak power testing is in the other tab. So down the bottom of the screen on the right, we've got all the peak power testing. So this is the one that I just did at the top. So if I click on that, that gives me the average force curve for those 7 strokes. Lots of other information in there as well. So that's pretty helpful. It gives me a summary. If I want to export that data, I can just hit the export CSV, and then I guess I can go ahead and open it up in numbers here so you can see it. But there it is, a real time saver, 7 strokes, lots of information there. I wasn't wearing a heart rate monitor, not that that'd be that important for a 7-stroke test. When I was hitting peak force, those kinds of things. If I can zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, it's not letting me do that, but there's the force curve points. So it really captures everything, drive time, those kinds of things. At 11.28 seconds was when that last stroke was finished, right? It was finished. So, that's pretty helpful. We'll go back to Remote Rowing Coach now and take a look at some of this data. So looking at, some of this data here, we can go ahead and click this top one, which is what I just did. Again, that was my average force curve for those strokes that I was doing before my peak power test. And so that's pretty cool. Training splits, I only rode 431, but the training splits would be right here. So your 500 splits, whatever you set the machine up to be your interval for your split, would show up right here. The data analysis screen is pretty powerful. She took a lot of the functionality from Rowing Stem and put it into this. So for example, if I wanted to look at power versus drive length and plot that, I'm going to get the drive length and the power. And it's kind of all over the place because I was doing some light strokes, I was doing some arms only strokes before, but you get the idea. And again, if you want to upload that to the logbook, you can click the upload to the logbook and it's going to go into the logbook. I can export all of this data again And again, it's very similar to the export before. So if you want to get a hold of that data and see some of those metrics that ERG data does not expose, you can do that with this app. You can save this image on your device, so that's pretty helpful. The next part of this is force curve analysis. Okay, so what this allows you to do is monitor, at what different stroke rates does your average force curve look like. So if I move the plus and the minus, that's my average force curve for 21 strokes per minute. So what it's done is it's taken all of those strokes in that 431 meters that I rode for you, and it's gone and figured out what the average is for all of them that are 21 strokes per minute. So we could save that, and then I could go to 22, and there's my 22 right there. And so this data right now isn't a whole lot meaningful because I was just kind of casually rowing some strokes, but I could save that, and it's telling me there's no strokes found in that data range. Let's see if there's some 26s right there. So there's my 26 curve. There's my 25 curve. Again, I think that's probably a little bit more reflective of my 27, 28 stroke curve. But I can save that. Again, I can save it to the device and then basically have that data available for me. So that's pretty helpful to see, where your stroke is breaking down at individual stroke rates. So typically, the lower stroke rates, we can get that haystack. At the higher stroke weights, people tend to think, okay, harder on the legs, so now that curve shifts to the left a little bit. But again, if you're interested in that data and want to see that, you can do that. You can also do stroke by stroke analysis. So it seems like in this 431 strokes that I pulled, there were 41 strokes, right? So, I can move this along and, kind of see what each of those strokes. So stroke 37 looked like this. So if you want to dial it into the 1 foot level, you can, and just go back previous and, get those strokes, and it gives you all that data to look at. So if you like data, this is the app for you. And so, that's the gist of Remote Rowing Coach. It's available in the App Store right now. There's a coach view, so I'm not going to set this up with a particular athlete right now, but this is what it would look like if you weren't using the web browser and you were using an iOS device to get that data remotely. That would be what it would look like, and you would go ahead and click up here in the top right, and then there would be the session ID. So presumably, if your athlete has given your permission for your username to get this data, and this is your second piece of authentication to get that data in real time. So I just thought I'd show that to you. And so the instructions for the app, because there is a little bit of a learning curve on it. It's probably not the most immediately accessible app on out there right now. But again, I wanted to build something that would be a solution for some of the frustrations I had as an online coach. Like, what would I need? What would I need to see? The force curve is useful to me because I know how to use it, and I know how to, tell somebody when it feels right to them. Then the data reciprocates, right? I'm not advocating that, you can show somebody a force curve and say, well, that explains how to row. The force curve shows you how if the feel and the acceleration through the stroke is right, then the force curve will tell you that. And I think what I'm looking for as an online coach is the ability to pinpoint, yes, that was it, when I'm working with an athlete in real time anywhere in the world, and get that feedback, because style is one thing, but what's actually happening on the handle is the key, right? So I built this as a solution to it. It's taken me about a year to put together. It is an iOS only app right now, although if you get the subscription, so you can purchase a subscription for the remote coaching. Right here, these are the prices at this current point in time. Can't guarantee they're going to stay the same. But if you just wanted force curve functionality, you could click stroke analysis, buy that for $3.99 American dollars, and it would unlock all of that force curve functionality that I showed you for the analysis as a one-time purchase. That is not a subscription. But if you were a coach and you were working with somebody, and you could sign up for different lengths of subscriptions and things like that. There is a limit of 5,000 strokes every day with the subscription, but I think that's pretty generous because obviously that real-time component is the cost for me running this app. So I certainly want to recoup those expenses so I'm not running at a loss. What would be the point of that? And so, this is the app. I've been talking about it a lot on the channel. Obviously, it's very important to me. I've put a lot of time and effort into it. But I want to put this software out there because I think it can help other people learn how to row a little bit better. It certainly helps my business in terms of my role as an online coach. And having this data, I don't think anybody else out there has the level of detail. There are some other options out there for real-time data, but this ability to see that force curve is probably the most important widget in all of this, and the time saving on this is important. So I'm going to sign off. I appreciate you watching the video, tuning into the channel. It is National Learn to Row Week. I hope you're getting out there and doing some rowing. I'm running a couple of clinics down at the boathouse tomorrow morning, so looking forward to that, but wanted to get this content out there on the channel. So thanks for tuning in. The app is Remote Rowing Coach. It is in the iOS App Store in most markets at this point, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's something in these videos that you would like me to demonstrate, please let me know in the comments. If you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.